This. And we are live on the PHU Dynasty podcast, and this is episode 63, and we are doing an NFL mock draft. We've never actually done this on the podcast. We've done rookie mocks, we've done extensive draft talk, but I think this time we're gonna really get into the nitty gritty of this draft. We haven't really covered the draft at super great length yet because we've been so focused on the free agency and with Charlie Campbell coming on last week, we got some initial good discussions to help guide us for this mock draft. But how we're going to run it is we're going to do, I'm going to be picking the odds. Sean will be picking the evens. And we are kind of just going to wing this. We're going to see if, we got some trades potentially. We'll try to loop in some trades to see how that goes. But really what we're going to try to do is not talk as much about the non-fantasy relevant players, and we will talk a little bit more about the fantasy relevant players, being quarterback, tight end, running back, and receiver. So, we'll obviously pick for the defensive positions in the draft to make it as realistic as possible. But we probably won't go at super great length at that, from a time perspective, because we're going to be doing 2 rounds, not 1, but 2, and it's going to be deep, and we're going to have lots of great fantasy discussions to be had. So, Sean, you ready for this?
Dude, I'm ready. I think it makes a lot of sense to do 2 rounds for us because, the biggest position is wide receiver this year. And, we could see almost maybe 20 receivers in the top 100 this year, which would just be...
That's absurd.
Crazy.
I have seen mocks recently where 7 receivers go in the first round, which would be crazy. Like 8 receivers go in the first round. I think Charlie, when we talked to him last week, said he expects 5 at minimum and maybe 6. But I think it'll be interesting to see what happens in our draft. Maybe who knows?
The betting line right now is 6.5 for the first round, and the under is juiced to minus 190 or 180.
I might take the over just to be a shithead.
Yeah, we'll see. I think we'll see how ours goes. I don't want to talk and then spoil anything. So why don't we just jump right in?
Let's get right into this. So I have the odds. So I have Chicago. So I'll get right to them, and if I will pull up this screen so those following along at home can kind of see what's going on here. So we are making trades eligible in this mock draft. So we might have some discussions live on air here to see if we can maybe work something out with some of these picks a little bit later here and into the end of the first round. A trade is available at any time, Sean. So feel free to hop in and say, hey, you looking to move down or you looking to move up, kind of a thing, and we'll see if we can make something happen. But unfortunately for you, no trades for pick 1. I think it's pretty obvious who is going here, and it's going to be Caleb Williams, quarterback from USC. The guy basically is a lock at this point. I feel like I think there was a couple of reports that came out. He had some meetings with the Bears recently. Everybody seemed like they enjoyed each other's company, and it worked out really well. Charlie seems to also think that it's a lock. So I'm going with Caleb here. I think this is pretty chalk, and I don't see any way that this really changes. From a fantasy perspective, him going to the Bears seems like a good initial fit on paper in terms of who he's throwing to and who he has around him. Charlie seemed to question the fit a little bit last week in terms of just personality, the type of city he's going to. Will it work out with some of the other players on the team? For fantasy, I don't really care. So, he's going to be a player. Superflex drafts, he should be 1 or 2 overall. In our draft, I think it'll be interesting to see where he goes based on who has the picks in the first round. Could he end up being a first round pick, in the Anthony Richardson mold, maybe from last year, or is he going to fall? Or Trevor Lawrence, if you look at it that way. Yeah, that's also an option. So I think at the end of the first round, you might see, him come off the board, and he's got all the upside in the world, right?
Yeah, just given how down the running back class is this year, you could definitely see a couple quarterbacks get pushed up in our draft. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, so I feel like there's potential for, you got to look at Caleb Williams too, like a game-changing potential fantasy asset in terms of what he can do on the ground, in addition to what he can do in the air. So I feel like that alone would be enough to maybe vault him into the first round. And he's going to be surrounded with good, pieces around him right out the gate, as opposed to some of these other rookie quarterbacks who have not had a DJ Moore, a Keenan Allen, a Cole Kmet, a good running back core, he
Quick
should be
question.
set.
Quick question for you: the Bears, as a franchise, has never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards in a year.
It sounds very Bucks-like before we got to Jameis.
Do you think that Caleb could do that as rookie year?
In a 17-game schedule, yes. I think that helps his cause too. But yeah, he seems like the guy that's going to wing it around. You know, when I think he'll throw a lot of picks. I'll be honest. I think his game is going to be challenged his rookie year. He's still going to play well in my opinion, but I just feel like he will throw a decent number of picks based on the fact that he's going to try to do some of the things he did in college, and it's just not going to work. And that's okay because he's a rookie. But you know, I've seen some crazy stuff about Chicago already. You know, like anything other than the playoffs would be a disappointment, and the hype is already off the charts. So I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Playing in one of the toughest divisions in football this year, just given how much the Packers have gotten better in the last year. The Lions
are funny how that division has turned it around.
Yeah, the Vikings, we'll see. I don't have a lot of hopes for the Vikings this year, but their coaching staff always seems to get a lot out of that team. So, but back to Caleb, just a couple more things because you had mentioned Charlie's comments on him. I don't remember if Charlie ever mentioned the fact that his offensive line at USC was awful.
Horrible.
He was
running for his life every play.
I do think I think there's some quarterbacks in the NFL because they hold the ball a little longer. They kind of make their offensive line look a little bit worse than they are. And I think Caleb's going to fall into that category, but I don't think that much to where that USC line was so bad.
They're really bad, and so was some of these other quarterbacks' offensive lines that we might be talking about here in a second. So, Sean, you're going to be up here with pick 2 for the Washington Commanders. They have pick 2, 36 and 40 in the top 2 rounds of our mock here. What direction are you leaning?
I'm strictly going with what I think is going to happen. As far as me, I don't know if we clarified that or not, or we got.
Yeah, this is a predictive mock. I think this is not what we would do, and if it's different than what you would do, then specify if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, my choice would be Drake May, but I think they're going Jaden Daniels at 2, so that's what we're going to go with in the mock.
And I would agree with you there too.
Yeah, he's odds-on favorite right now. I think we've already got enough of Jaden Daniels and me talking on the pod. I don't hate him. I just don't love it.
I feel that way about McCarthy too, to be honest with you. I feel like both of them have a lot of things going for them. But there's also serious reasons to believe they might bust. I think Jaden Daniels is, to me, out of all the quarterbacks, I think he has the biggest bust potential when you watch the film. I had to go back and rewatch a lot of his stuff. Obviously I watched a lot of Brian Thomas and Neighbors. And when you watch those games, you can see, you see the arm talent, it's there. You see the scrambling ability, it's there. But there are definitely some deficiencies in his game. And I could see this not working out. But I feel like from a team fit standpoint, Washington and Daniels makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I'd agree. And not to mention he was playing behind probably tackle 1 in next year's draft on that
Seems
team.
Likely, yeah.
So, he had a lot going for him. And I hate to knock somebody on that because you still have to produce with that stuff. And he definitely produced. He had a great year. But he's older. He's not as, he's skinny. His tendencies.
I'm worried about him staying healthy.
His tendencies are bad. He doesn't scramble to throw ever. I don't know if he had more than 5 passing attempts on scrambles. He only scrambled to run.
Yeah, he doesn't. He is a classic. Once he's out of the pocket, his eyes go from here down, and he does not look downfield and which is crazy considering he had all the offensive talent he had, where you could just chuck it up to either one of those guys and at least have a chance. I feel like he has a longer way to go, and it feels like lately. I don't know if you've got this feeling in on the Twitterverse or in just in the draft analyst world, if you will, draft Nick Twitter, that Jaden Daniels feels like a better prospect than he did 2 months ago. People are trying to sell themselves on him more, and
it doesn't help that he's highest regarded at on the ESPN mocks, which are the ones that get thrown out the most.
Of course, yeah.
He's he's QB1 for people, like some people at ESPN.
That's ridiculous. That's
Which is
just ridiculous. I'm not going to, I won't even go there because it's not worth our time. Let's move on to pick 3. So I have the pick for New England. They have pick 3 and 34 this year. I think New England could listen to trades, but at the end of the day, I think it would be a mistake to pass on a quarterback at 3, especially if it's Drake May. I like the idea of, like, who knows if you'll be picking this high again next year. If you start Brissett all year long and pass on a quarterback, I really don't think you're picking at 3. I think Brissett's good enough to get you, pick 8, pick 10, something like that. So I think they got to take their shot right now. Brand new coordinator or brand new coach, brand new GM. Let's, stake our claim. And, I think it also for a young GM, like a first time GM, I think it's good to get your quarterback early because you might get a second chance. If I feel like these coaches that maybe, like a GM, for example, like a Joe Shane right now in New York Giants, if he didn't, get Daniel Jones right, they're just probably not going to get another chance at a quarterback. Like you're not going to get 3 to 5 years like you used to these days. So I feel like if you get your shot early, it doesn't work out, you can quickly pivot and maybe save your job on, a 2-year, 3-year cycle, perhaps. So
yeah,
I would
like,
take Drake May here.
We drafted the quarterback, but like we didn't have anything else. So how would we expect him to be successful and then, bullshit your way?
Exactly. And it's a weird situation because, like, if you build the team to say, oh, we're going to build a team and build a good roster and then plop the quarterback in, you might not have a job by then. So I feel like you kind of can't win as a GM right now. And quarterbacks are such a crapshoot that I feel like you just got to take your shots.
I think there's a pretty good chance that, May probably plays. You're going with May, right? I need an extra.
Yeah, it's going to be, I'll put him in here now just so we have him in there.
There's a real good chance that he probably sits the vast majority of the year this season. If I'm then if I'm New England and I'm taking May at 3, that's what I'm doing. But
I don't think it'll happen, but I think he'll be like an 8-game starter, maybe like a halfway through the season kind of guy.
Yeah, I was thinking 4 to 5, like at the end of the year when things don't matter as much, like because I don't know, they're going to be able to take care of like 2 of their 3 biggest needs in this draft. We'll talk about the next pick for them down the line, but this team needs a quarterback. They need a left tackle badly.
They just need an offense. They need an offense.
They need an X receiver. So
I also think too with New England, like you could take May and kind of start him right out the gate, maybe week 2, week 1 even. And if he stinks, you maybe get yourself a higher draft pick next year again, and could potentially add more ammunition that way. So I feel like it's kind of either way they go. If they want to start Brissett or May, they're probably going to end up in a better long-term position either way, just because of the way that they structured the team.
Yeah, unless Gerard Mayo has like some kind of like effect, like the coach for the Texans did last year. Why am I blanking on his name?
Oh, D'Amico?
Yeah, unless he has that kind of effect on this team and they overperform, I don't see how they're not picking in the top 5 next year.
We did think that it was going to be that way for the Texans again, but it didn't turn out to be that way. So
I did not.
Who knows?
Year's draft, but okay.
Yeah, I didn't feel great about Stroud right out the gate, but yeah. I didn't really like Young a lot either, though. So I was probably just too low on both of them in reality. But let's get to a more interesting pick here. Now that the 3, I feel like this is pretty chalky what we've done so far. So at pick 4, we got the Arizona Cardinals. They have 4, 27, and 35. Monty Austinford, the GM for Arizona, has shown last year that he is willing to go all over the place. They have tons of capital. I think they have 11 picks in this year's draft, Sean. So what direction are you going to take the Cardinals here at 4?
I think it can be really, really alluring to just keep stacking draft capital.
Mm-hmm.
But at a certain point, you need blue chip on your team.
They don't have a lot of it.
I'm gonna go chalk. I'm not trading this pick. I'm going Marvin Harrison Jr.
Okay, I think we're on the same page too, because I also believe that it would be kind of a big mistake maybe to pass on such a quality prospect, an elite wide receiver prospect, even in a deep class.
What could happen this year is they could do exactly what they did last year, is where they trade down and then they trade back up into the top 10.
Yes, I could absolutely see that.
And there are definitely a couple teams coming up where that could be possible for them to move up a couple spots. Maybe they get the third receiver of the three that are going to go in the top 10.
Mm-hmm. I
So we'll
kind of
see.
believe
It's definitely a
that,
possibility.
I think there's a lot of talk about these trade down and then back up. But another idea that I guess we'll get to in a couple of picks when you pick for the Giants is like they could just move down 2 slots with the Giants. And, the Giants could come up for JJ and they only move down 2 spots and they could potentially still get Marvin or Neighbors, which would be a pretty sweet deal for the Cardinals. But I think they have to get 2 to tango there. So that might be a little hard.
Yeah, I'm not buying the Giants trade ups. I've seen that. I think Peter Schrager's mock today had that in it, which Peter Schrager's mocks are always awful, but
yeah, I mean he's kind of
he's not tuned into a draft. He's tuned into like team vibes everywhere is more his style.
He does have a lot of context though. Like I feel like his mock like at the end of the draft cycle is usually better than
I'll pay attention to like the Shanahans and the McVays of his mock draft because he is like on a first name basis with those guys. But like outside of that, I'm not super excited. So
I feel like Charlie's the guy you want to follow for that. So
yeah. So I just don't buy it with the Giants. I think they're a stick and pick team. I don't see them trading down either. So, but anyway,
all right.
Jr. literal blue chip, whatever is higher than blue chip, I would probably give him that too. Like
gold chip.
Yeah, he's so good, man. Like I think an easy comp for him is AJ Green with a little more upside.
Yeah, I mean he's got the green body type. You watch him on film. He does a lot of similar things. Charlie had Neighbors over him as a prospect, and I think there will be teams that have Neighbors above him strictly from a fit standpoint. There might be teams that really value the speed, but I think the Cardinals, the team build that they currently have right now, they do need a guy that can be physical. They do need a guy. They basically just need another DeAndre Hopkins. And I feel like this is not that far off from that, if not even more upside potentially. But he's super safe too. I mean, he's a guy, he's going to be a good player. And I mean,
that offense is going to be good.
Sneaky good. Yeah. I mean, Michael Wilson, I think obviously I'm biased because I have him on my team, but I think he's a good quality player as well as a wide receiver too, potentially.
Yeah, Trey McBride was great last year.
Very, very good.
Their offensive line was solid. Their running game was good last year too, with a bad quarterback most likely back there.
I feel like they're going to add another running back this year in the draft as well. I feel like they have a lot of picks, so you got to spend them somehow. But yeah, I think from a Harrison standpoint, you look at our draft. I mean, he's probably going with number 1. Justin would be probably just fine with this landing spot, I think. So, I think this is, like you said, is a pretty chalky pick, but it's the right pick probably for Arizona that truly does need that number 1 receiver now that Hollywood's gone. So I like the pick. Let's go ahead and go to 5. And I got pick 5 here with the Chargers. And this has got to be the turning point of the draft, if you will.
Eric, do you hear that? Do you?
I don't hear anything right now. What do you got?
You hear those phones ringing?
Oh, hold on a second. Let's just.
Is that a Minnesota area code?
Hold on a second. Hold on. Hey, I'll have a double deluxe. No, I thought it was Marco's Pizza. Instead, it's the Minnesota Vikings calling, and it sounds like, Sean, you have an offer for me potentially.
Yeah, what we're prepared to do for Minnesota, Eric. We're gonna give you 11 this year. We're gonna give you 23 this year. And we're gonna give you a 2025 second round pick. If that's not what you love and that's not what you like to see, we can up that second round pick to a first round pick in 2025.
Holy shit, 3 first round picks, Sean. Why'd you even give me the option for the second? You're going to tell me you're going to give me 3? Of course I'm taking the 3.
Realistically, we should probably debate what's fair, because there's always a tax on when you trade up to take a quarterback.
Yeah, so especially when you're going down, from 5 to 11. That's a pretty decent.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me either way with those. So I think
let's see what the simulator thinks. Let's let the simulator decide, because I've done a few of these already just to practice with this system. It's pretty terrible.
Yeah, from what I've researched, they don't usually build in like the quarterback tax that like a lot of teams do when they
see. They think you're giving up too much here with just 11 and 23, which is horseshit. So
yeah,
Okay, so let's add in the 2025 second, and they're gonna be like, whoa, 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 this is too much. So just to make this work, this is not actually the trade. This is not the terms. We're just gonna add in this second to make it work. There we go. Whatever, second, third doesn't. So these don't matter on the Chargers side. Forget about that. But that's the trade. We're getting 11 and 23, and then the second.
I think the 3 firsts probably would have been a little closer if it was like the 103 from the Patriots.
Yes, agreed for sure.
So I think it's pretty fair to do the 2 firsts and a second next year.
I think so. So we could run that.
If you're paying up for quarterback, you're paying up. Like that's just them the rules. I don't.
Yeah, if everybody knows it's going to be a quarterback, and if I'm the Chargers here, of course, like Neighbors or Joe Alt would be a good pick, but they need a lot of things. So I think this is a smart move, and frankly, it's kind of a necessary move with how many holes they have to fill. So when you have this kind of offer coming towards you, I think you got to take it. So we'll take the deal, and we have Minnesota on the clock.
And needless to say, Minnesota has hamstrung themselves into the position of where they kind of have to trade up at this point because they've given up a lot to get that other first round pick to move up. And if you're not taking a quarterback after doing that, it just seems like, why did you do that first place?
Now, let me ask you this, just from a Minnesota, because we are not going to pick for Minnesota again in this draft. What do you think about the idea of just taking the top talent at 11? It could be, who knows? It could be,
Penix or Knicks.
Yeah, and just waiting till 23 to get one of those guys. Do you think that's even in the realm of possibility?
Sure, but the smoke has just been so hot.
It's every single mock draft you see.
It's so hot.
It's literally every single one is a trade up. So like, how could it not happen?
It would truly shock me if they don't trade up at this point. Like we could get off.
Maybe it's not with the Chargers. Maybe it's with Atlanta. Maybe it's with.
That's very possible, but I think if you let it go further down, it's easier to trade up. I think you get more into the territory of like letting teams like a Denver or I almost said Oakland, Las Vegas, like opening the door to where it's a little easier for them to move up.
Well, yeah, because you have the capital to get to that spot, whereas they probably don't. So yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I assume you're going to go ahead and take JJ McCarthy here, then, right?
Yeah, it's going to be McCarthy. Yes, sure.
Yes,
I have a second round grade on him, but here we go. 5 overall.
I mean, it feels an awful lot like the Will Levis discussions last year, but I think he's not going to fall to the second round. I think that he's going to end up being a top 10 pick when it's all
there's been smoke screens at 2 for McCarthy,
which would be absolutely if we get JJ McCarthy at 2, I'm going to have to Amazon order Party Pop. I am ordering Party Poppers just for that. Because that's ridiculous.
That would be an all-timer.
Now, here's the thing: is like I don't want to shit on McCarthy too much because I actually do think he has transferable skills, and if he can make it work and get better and improve in the spots that he needs to improve, he has all the other things that he needs to be good. I mean, I watched some sick throws from him. Like he makes some unbelievable throws over the middle.
He would be going to one of the best situations a rookie quarterback's probably ever gone to. You've got arguably the best receiver, probably one of the best rookie receivers last year. You've got Hawkinson. You've got a pretty solid offensive line, and you've got a good play caller. So, like,
good running game with Aaron Jones.
If he's there, I'm pretty confident he's going to be successful because everything's there for you. But like, I mean, I don't see him ever being better than like a Purdy, Purdy's good.
I was going to say, what's his ceiling?
Purdy's good, but he's never go win you a game. You're going to win with him.
Yeah, he's kind of just he's a backpack guy. He needs some help around him to make it work, and that's pretty much what he did at Michigan. So it kind of makes sense. I mean, it's a good fit, that's for sure. And that's probably what Minnesota's thinking.
Yeah.
All right, no, that's probably enough JJ McCarthy talk. I'm sure there'll be plenty, once we get closer to the draft. But from a fantasy perspective, I guess we should touch on that too. He goes to Minnesota. It's a pretty damn good landing spot, like we mentioned. But he's not much of a runner. He does have upside, but
his escapability will probably be pretty solid in the NFL. So you might get some like small scrambles, but he's not getting you like a 20-yard jaunt down the field.
And I think he has like some Ryan Tannehill in him, maybe like with that kind of like ability to move around. he's not a tremendous passer, but he has some good skills and a very good arm. He attacks the middle of the field well. I don't want to write him off as like a Blaine Gabbert prospect, because that's not what he is. Like we've, I mean, Vince, anybody in this league will tell you we've watched a lot of terrible quarterback prospects in the first round, Christian Ponder, Jake Locker, just horrible mid first round picks. I don't think he's in that category. I think he's somewhere in between a good prospect and that EJ Manuel range somewhere, where he could end up being really good, but quarterbacks are such a crapshoot, dude. I don't know. Who the hell knows? Nobody knows.
In an alternate reality of like him and Harbaugh stay at Michigan for another year, he could be the 101 next year.
It's not out of the question. No. I mean,
he could use just like a little more seasoning. So
he played like 17 games.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just like, how can you really judge anybody off of that?
17-1 as a starter.
That's crazy. And he did make good throws, and he played against great competition. So it's not like he's a trash prospect. So anyway, let's get to the Giants here at pick 6. Sean,
getting all the fun picks so far.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've had some good ones so far. What are you thinking here at 6?
I think you take probably the freakiest athlete in the draft. Most likely, I'm gonna go with Neighbors.
Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna go with weight adjusted.
Weight adjusted. Okay, fair enough. That's fair enough. So we'll take Neighbors for you here.
Yeah, I mean he's so good. Like any year, it would just be such a vast difference between Harrison and like wide receiver 2. It just so happens that in 2024, Neighbors exists. Like he is so close. Like in any other year, he'd be the one. The guy's crazy.
He's very, very. I mean, to me, he's in that like Jamar Chase bucket of type of player. I'm not going to say he's going to be Jamar Chase, but he is a similar type of player. Did you consider Rome here based on player type? Because the Giants have a lot of Smurfs out there. So I know he's not small, but do you think that they would benefit to have a bigger guy like that, like a Dunze, or would you rather see them take Neighbors here? Obviously, your choice is made, but yeah.
I think Giants fans have just watched so much of their receivers not being able to separate at any point in the field that like taking Rome over Neighbors would feel a little wrong, because the guy can just get open.
They've seen enough Kenny Golladay. They don't want to see anyone. They don't want to see that again.
You want a guy that just gets like a 5-yard cushion every once in a while. Like he's gonna get it. I think that's the right pick for them. I hate it as an Eagles fan because he's good.
He honestly gives me. I don't want to put him in that Odell category, but he has Odell-like traits where he just gets open, he makes plays, and he's explosive. And obviously the Giants, they need a lot of things right now, and their offense is still a bit of a mess. But this is a guy that can change your offense, even if Daniel Jones can't get it down the field. If you could throw it to him 8 yards over the middle, he could take it 20, 30 yards. So
Drew Lock can get it down the field.
That's true. It depends. It could be the guy.
I watched him do it.
We have a second round, Sean. We could get some quarterback in the second round. You never know. All right, so let's keep this rolling. We got Tennessee at 7. This is an interesting spot. It seems like a layup. It seems like a layup. I do think that they could go in another direction, but it's going to be Joe Alt. I can't see them not going Joe Alt. He is one of the better tackle prospects. I mean, Charlie's a little lower on Joe Alt based on what he's heard. He is basing that on the fact that everybody's calling him the second or the best tight or offensive tackle prospect since Penei Sewell, and he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah, that's a little.
And Joe Alt is not that prospect for me,
but he's
at 7,
he's a damn good left tackle.
In another draft, he would go 3 or 4, which is very, very good for a left tackle. So, and it's a perfect fit with Tennessee. You know, they got the Callahan family there. They love their offensive line. They need an offensive lineman. They'll have one of the best tackle and guard setups now with Skoronski, with
Quisenberry.
Quisenberry's still there. You got Alt. They're going to be much better up front, and frankly, that's what Will Levis needs.
Yeah, one of the 2 or 3 best offensive line coaches in the NFL too.
I mean, this whole year for the Titans is you got to figure out what you got in Will Levis. So they've obviously bolstered the receiver core, And if they can get him, they got him Tony Pollard. Let's get him a good line and let's see what we really got. I think this is what they have to either do this, or I thought, maybe if Neighbors made it to them, he's explosive enough for them to maybe consider Neighbors. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be Joe Alt.
Eric, it's so funny that you bring up really building around your young quarterback. Maybe we should get to the next pick.
We should go to the next pick, and that's the Atlanta Falcons,
which don't have a young quarterback.
They certainly don't.
What they do have is a phone call coming in.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't handle any more phone calls.
This one I haven't seen anywhere, and I love it. And this one's coming from the Heartland. This is coming from Indianapolis.
Wow, okay. I kind of like that.
Indianapolis has some really good young players, headlined by Anthony Richardson. They just locked up what they think is their top receiver, but is really probably a high-end wide receiver 2 in the NFL, for being clear. So why don't we give them a franchise wide receiver at number 8?
Wow. Xavier Worthy? They love speed there.
So Atlanta would be trading 8 and 109 to Indianapolis for picks 15 and 46 in this draft.
Let me fire this up here. Hold on a second. Let's get ATL, and we're gonna get Indianapolis, and it's gonna be 8 for 15 and what?
And 46.
And 46. So just the first and the second. The simulator loves it, Sean. So we have to go with it. We have no choice. The simulator has spoken.
Pick their Atlanta's 4th round pick, 109.
They love it even more. They love Sean. They couldn't love it anymore. The fans love it. The simulator loves it. We have to pick it. We don't have a choice.
Future 31-year-old NFL GM right here.
We have zero.
Howie,
choice.
Watch this, please, Howie.
This is an interesting trade. Now, Sean, I assume you're taking Rome Odunze here, so we'll plop him in.
You bet your sweet ass I am, because I love Rome Odunze.
He's not really good.
The best wide receiver in this class, but he's probably my favorite.
I mean, he's a wide receiver 1 in other classes too.
I mean, all three. There's 3 franchise wide receivers in this draft, and he's one of the 3.
I mean, you can't go wrong with any of the 3, I think. And with Indy being, I think that's a pretty damn good landing spot. He's going to have lots of opportunities for the chuck it and pray offense.
And a Shane Steichen offense too. That guy knows where to put the ball. Like he gives it to his best players.
The only thing I'll say about this pick, Sean, is I'm not so sure he's Indy's type, if that makes sense. Indy loves athletes, and he's a good athlete. Don't get me wrong, but he's not like a special athlete like a Neighbors or a Worthy. Even like literally, he fit. I think Worthy is kind of more of that, or even Brian Thomas, for example.
Very realistic for them to stick and pick at 15 and take Brian Thomas, but that wasn't as fun.
Do you mean better Alec Pierce? Because that's kind of what he is.
Much better Alec Pierce.
Alec Pierce loves to run cardio. It's his favorite thing. He just run. I looked it up. He had the most yards run last year with the lowest amount of yards. He just loves to run. So he's in the best shape of anybody in the NFL right now. So, but yeah, I mean, like, I think if you're Indy too, you got to try to give Richardson every chance you can to make him good. And they do need some defensive pieces, but they are not a bad team on paper. So they could do something like this, and it doesn't cost them a lot.
No, it really doesn't. This isn't something that I think is really going to happen, but like, there's always a left field.
There's always one crazy one.
And you just kind of have to throw something in there, even if your whole heart isn't behind it. I like this one a lot. I think it's more likely that they stick and pick and Bowers ends up there, or Brian Thomas. I think
I could also see the Jets moving into this Atlanta spot to get up to 8.
Very possible. That'd be a terrible idea for them, but
yeah, they don't really have any picks to begin with, so it would kind of help to not do that. But maybe they feel desperate enough to do it.
I'll get to Big Ten. Like, there's one player only that they should be drafting to me. But
okay,
yeah, I mean, Rome he's so good, man. I don't know what else to say. He's a wide receiver 1 from day 1.
Yeah, with him and Pittman, they are very set up. And then Josh Downs in the slot, they look pretty damn good on offense right now with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield too. So I'm a fan of the move for them. Chicago at 9 is an interesting one. I could go a lot of different ways here. I think I'm going to go a little bit
to get Rome at 9.
I was not. I actually thought that somebody else might trade up for Rome. I don't know who it would have been, but just somebody. So I had a feeling that you were thinking that with Atlanta being on the clock. But I think if he was there at 9, I probably would just ended up taking him just from a talent perspective. But this time, I think I'm looking to trade down here if I'm Chicago. I don't know if I have a partner currently with the way the board has fallen. So I think I'm going to stick and pick here. And this is what I believe will happen. Not that I would do it. I think they're going to pick a defensive lineman, but it's not going to be an edge rusher. I think it's going to be Byron Murphy. I think Byron Murphy is going to go in the top 10. I think the NFL circles and based on what I've heard from Charlie and other folks, Byron Murphy is going to be a top 20 pick probably. And I think there is a premium on interior rushers because I feel like there's a lot of good edge rushers in the league right now, but there's not a lot of good interior rushers. I think there's maybe like 8 to 10 good ones. So I think there is a premium on this position. And
2 good ones in the first round this year.
Yes, I love both of them, frankly. I think they're both very good prospects. I actually like Jerzon better, personally. Some people have Jerzon outside the first round, which I think is a crime.
It's the run defense. But we'll get there.
But let's pick Murphy here and keep it moving to the fantasy relevant stuff. So you're going to be on the clock here at 10 for the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, rush the podium for me. I'm taking Troy Fautanu.
Wow, so no Bowers. Okay.
They have 2 33-year-old plus tackles. They need some insurance because Rodgers played 4 snaps last year.
But
you can't be.
Does Fautanu get on the field?
Yeah, he'll start at right guard or left guard.
Okay, so if you think he starts at guard, then yes, I can get behind this pick. But I cannot get behind it if you're taking a tackle to have him sit.
And then you let him sit behind either Moses or Jesus Christ. Who's their left tackle? Tyron, thank you. Let him sit behind him for a year. Tyron's a great guy to sit behind and learn from for a year. I know they're all in right now, but you really you got to make the smart choice. And to me that's
it is the smart choice, frankly. I mean, of course I know they want to get him another playmaker, but at the end of the day, you got to keep him upright. He is the entire thing. They saw last year when he went down, it was a complete joke of a season. So they don't have a choice. They have to keep him upright, and that's one way to do it. And he's a good prospect too. He's going to be a long-term player.
He's probably the most flexible offensive lineman in the draft. He can play all 5.
I mean, he has a lot of potential for that. Him and Barton are probably the only 2 that can really do that this year. We got an interesting spot here at 11. Bowers is still available for us here, but this team also really needs an offensive lineman, and there's one that really fits. Exactly. Now, here's the thing: is I've been hearing so much that there's almost no way that Bowers gets out of the top 12. And I think I'm just going to take Bowers here because they need a pass catcher. They don't even care who it is at this point. They have nothing on this team other than Josh Palmer. I hate to say it, Quentin Johnson is not it, Chief. And I think if they can get Bowers, I still think there's a chance they can get a good tackle at 23. I don't think they're going to get that elite pass catcher or a great talent at the pass catcher position. At 23, I mean, they'll have options, but I don't think it'll be Brian Thomas, and I don't think it'll be one of the other guys at that position. So I'm going to take Brock Bowers here, and the draft simulator is now frozen, so that's pretty cool. So that's a great time for this to happen. We might have to go off the cuff here, Sean. But I'm going to take Bowers, so that's going to put, I believe, Denver on the clock next. Hopefully this catches up. So I'll let you pick for Denver. I'm going to try to restart this here.
Yeah, let me riff on the pick. I would be truly shocked if a wide receiver goes to the Chargers in the first round this year. Even with them having 2 first-round picks, I think Harbaugh just doesn't care about wide receivers in his offense. I think right tackle is going to be the priority for them. And I think corner could be a priority if they are trading back and they end up with a second first-round pick. It's a deep wide receiver class. I think he likes a lot of guys in that range. I mean, he's one of them played for him. So, but we can get into that later too. Just kind of riffing to see if we can.
Yeah, I got it back. I'm trying to repick these players now. So I'm trying to repick these players here. So we had Caleb. How about this? Let's recap what we have so far. We have
That's
Caleb.
an excellent idea, Eric. At 101, we got Caleb Williams going to the Chicago Bears. At 2, we've got the Commanders taking Jaden Daniels. At 3, we've got Drake May going to the New England Patriots. Chalk so far, kind of. Marvin Jones at 4 going to the Cardinals.
Marvin Jones. I love Marvin Jones.
Did I say Marvin Jones again? God, I love that.
I'm okay. Hey, listen, I'm okay with that. I love Marvin.
Every time, man. I can't be the only one.
I got to get this. No, I've done it twice on podcast. So let me, I got to get that trade back in for the Chargers. So they traded that pick to Minnesota.
11-23.
And then the 25 second.
Fun fact, 23rd pick, originally owned by the Houston Texans, has now gone from Houston to Minnesota to Los Angeles.
That is interesting to say the least. All right, and then we had Alt at 7, and then we had the Falcons trading their pick to
Indy.
The Colts, and that was for a first and a second, and they loved that. And then we had, I got to pick Rome, and then we had Byron Murphy, and then we had the Jets taking Fuaga. No, it's Fautanu, sorry. He's still out there. I was considering Fuaga for the Chargers. Then they're taking Brock Bowers, and I think we're back. If that happens again, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull this off again, but we'll try.
Oh, boy, does that mean we're at number 12?
We sure are at number 12 for the beautiful Denver Broncos, who do not have a second-round pick in this year's draft, Sean. So let me put this back.
Not yet.
Not yet, he says. So he's thinking about trade back, it sounds like.
The phone, man, it just keeps ringing.
The phone is ringing. The phone is ringing. All right, here we go. So let's see. Do I have this back up now? I do. Okay. All right.
Right. Eric, this is, I don't know if you can hear me. This is Howie Roseman calling. Just trying to check in and see how you guys are doing with that 12th pick. We're pretty interested in coming up and getting that. What are you guys interested in coming down?
Well, we don't have a fucking quarterback. We don't think that either of the quarterbacks are worth taking at 12, and we were considering taking Bowers, and he is now gone. So we are open to listening to this deal. I think if we were to go any direction here with 12, it would probably, I feel like I don't even know what else they would pick at this point other than like a corner maybe. So I'm all about the trade here.
So what we're interested in sending you, picks 22, 53, and 161 for pick 12.
All right, let me think about this here. So we got Philly getting 12, and they're getting 22. What are they getting else?
53.
Oh, shit, I hit 50. God damn it, and I can't take it back. You hate to see it. All right, and then was there anything else? They love it. They love it right now. So
yeah, just leave it at that then.
All right, we're running with that. All right, so then who are we taking?
Buddy, Philadelphia loves the MAC. Let me tell you.
They love the MAC and they love the SEC, Sean.
We love Quinyon Mitchell. Come on down. Corner 1.
Do you think that Howie's going to do it, though?
Fuck no. But I want it. Realistically, if we're trading up here, it's going to be for like Turner or I don't know, maybe Byron Murphy. Who knows? Let's take another defensive.
They love taking pass rushers, dude. They fucking love it. They do so much.
But
I like the pick, though.
Darius Slay's going to be 34 this year. We need a corner.
Yeah, I mean, they need it. I do think Mitchell might actually fall in the draft. I feel like he was like, when you look at before the Senior Bowl, dude, like he was like a second-round guy. He's checked all the boxes at this point, but maybe he doesn't go 12. But, you know, I could see something maybe later in that middle, maybe 18, 19, something like that. But it's a position scarcity this year, honestly.
I would be okay with sticking and picking. The only problem is Howie's traded up 4 of the last 5 years. So, like...
Seems like a good fit.
I mean, like, he's probably going to make moves. So,
it's a good spot for Denver to trade to as well at that back half of that, or the back half of the first round.
That's the half that makes more sense than the Eagles have, to be honest, for me.
Probably. But I think both teams win there, so I like the deal. let's go to Las Vegas. This is my pick. We could go in a lot of different directions here. I can't decide what to do generally on this pick because I still think they need a quarterback, but I cannot justify Michael Penix at 13. I like Michael Penix too.
Why don't we skip quarterback for later?
Well, I was also thinking too that basically getting your hint. I just don't think they're going to do it anyway. So if we're doing a predictive mock, it's too much. And I like Penix, but I don't think it's with his injury history and how old he is. I just don't see it.
He didn't finish the season 4 times in college. It's tough.
Yeah, it's not a good look. And I'm looking at the board right now, and I'm seeing some really good edge prospects, and I'm also seeing some really good offensive tackle prospects. So I'm looking at Fuaga here, and I think I'm going to take him because I think he's going to be an Antonio Pierce kind of guy, and it just makes a lot of sense for a team that, frankly, if you're going to be trotting out Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew, they're not going to be moving around much. So you got to protect him in the pocket, and I think Fuaga has some serious upside.
Whatever is bigger and nastier than a dog, Fuaga's got that in him. That dude is
he's very good. He's very good, and I think he's going to be a stud. So. This is a great offensive tackle class. Really, it's just so deep in the first round. It's not deep past the first round, but it's very good in the first round. So get them. I think teams are going to be looking at this draft like, let's get our tackles and offensive linemen early, and then we're going to get the depth on the skill position players later, on the offensive side of the ball at least. So Fuaga at 13, that brings us to 14 with New Orleans. Sean, where are we going here?
Let's just keep the good times rolling with this offensive lineman. Give me Olu. 14.
Yeah, Olu seems like a perfect fit there. Trevor Penning completely sucks, so they kind of have to just pick that and just ride with it, I think.
Ramczyk is not gonna play.
It seems like that might be an option for him to not play. So, but yeah, let's go to Atlanta to keep this rolling. Atlanta, obviously, they nailed this trade down. All the positions that they kind of want and need are still available to them, with the exception of maybe like a Quinyon Mitchell being gone. But they have their pick of the litter at the edge position. They have absolutely no pass rush right now other than Grady Jarrett. So I think they have to go in that direction. I'm not going to pick Latu. Latu's my number one pass rusher this year. He's incredible technically. I've watched a lot of Latu this year because I hope the Bucs draft him, but I don't think that he will go this high based on his medical. So I'm going to pass on him here, and I feel like it's going to be Verse or Turner, and the NFL loves traits, so I think they're just going to pick Turner. So I think we'll just go Turner there at 15, and that's going to bring us to 16 with the Seattle Seahawks.
Well, this is where I had Byron Murphy going, so that's awkward.
Yeah, sorry I ruined that for you.
That's the floor for him, to me. I think he's
not getting out of the top 20. There's no way.
Yeah, I think 16 is the floor for him.
I put the floor for him at the Rams. I don't see they pass on him.
Boy, this would be really early, but they need interior offensive line. They need the middle on both trenches.
They need a lot of stuff on the interior, I think.
So what I'm thinking,
and they need a defense lineman too.
Boy, oh boy, really thrown off now.
They really are in a good position for their needs, to be honest.
They are. I think I'm going to give them. Newton.
That's it. I like the pick. I mean, I love the pick because I think Newton is the best defensive tackle in this draft.
I think 16 might end up being a little high for him, but it just depends on the team, like what flavor they're looking for. I think it was between him and Graham Barton for me. I think those two make a lot of sense for what their needs are.
I think Barton's for sure going in the top 20, so we'll get to that in here in a couple of seconds. But yeah, the Seahawks, they could go a lot of different ways. I do feel like D-line makes a ton of sense, specifically the tackle position. They do have some decent edge rushers that are young. And I think Newton is the best. I truly believe he is going to be one of those special pass rush interior guys that you can use in a couple different ways. And he will be a good player for them. So
point of emphasis: Seattle makes some weird choices in their drafts. So
They sure do. I could be
freaking
could be a running back for all we know. They love running backs, so
I never have any idea what they're gonna do. I have no idea what the Lions are ever gonna do. Like,
there's definitely a couple of we have no clue options out there. Let's go to 17. I got the pick for Jacksonville. I kind of think the position value here says you got to go with one of the pass rushers. However, they just spent a shit ton of money on the pass rushers, so I'm not going to do that. And I don't think Brian Thomas is the right fit, despite seeing him in a lot of mocks. I feel like if you
better Gabe Davis,
that's what I'm saying. Like he plays the same role. I mean, unless they're okay with sitting and waiting around a while, they could do that, I guess. But I don't like that. You got Terry Arnold sitting there at corner. They definitely need a corner. This is a tough one. I like the idea of maybe taking a tackle too. There's some good tackles out there. But I'm just going to go ahead and stick with Terrion Arnold. I think he'll end up being picked between 17 and 25. So this is a good spot for him.
I think I've seen it's split 80-20 between corner and wide receiver. I never see tackle or offensive lineman for them in mocks.
Yeah, and tackle is a weird position because they don't have nothing on the offensive line, so they could plug them in. Well. They're just not quality players, so it's just a weird situation. But it's also
that's
Trent Baalke, and he sucks, so anything could happen.
Pick mid players, and they pay mid players to be more than mid players.
Yeah, I mean, and frankly, Arnold's a perfect fit because I don't think Arnold is. I like Quinyon Mitchell more than Arnold, and I think Arnold is, to me, he's like a back half of the first. I would pick him. I would be more comfortable picking him at 30, but wow. he's going to go higher this year.
I think I like him a little more than that. He's my corner 3 in this draft.
Oh, okay, that's interesting. I guess we'll get to that here in a second. Here, maybe. I have him also at 3, but I just would have him lower on my board, I guess. So let's get to Cincinnati here at 18. This is an interesting selection. They have a lot of options available to them right now.
This is because the bottom fell out on where I thought Bowers was going to go after that trade. He ended up going 18 to the Bengals on mine, but I can't do that now.
No, you cannot.
So
you could take Theo Johnson, though.
Give me, I guess, they need a receiver because I don't think they're going to pay Higgins. So give me Brian Thomas.
All right. Well, Brian Thomas will be wide receiver. He's going to take over the wide receiver 3 role, I guess, for now. Well, do you think Higgins is getting traded? I guess that's kind of.
No, I don't. I think he'll probably play on the tag, and then they'll lose him for nothing because Cincinnati's.
It seems like a Cincinnati thing to do.
Yeah, I mean they're trying to win. They've got a legitimate chance of winning. So I mean, you can't.
Might as well ride it out. What if he holds out? That would suck. That'd be awful.
He already reported to voluntary, so it's probably not.
Oh, okay. So that pretty much tells you everything you need to know then.
Yeah.
Okay, so they look great now on the offensive side of the ball from a receiver standpoint for this year. From a fantasy perspective, we should
lineman at that pick too. But I just think
position value is offensive line there, but I understand the pick because they need to start thinking for life after T. Higgins.
Also, where did he go to school?
It's very true. They love that. So it makes perfect sense. And I also think, Brian Thomas, is pretty much a T. Higgins type of prospect as well. Okay. So if they liked him one time, they probably like him a second time. And it is a position of need for next year for sure. So why not? And, from a fantasy perspective, if he goes to Cincinnati for this year, in our rookie draft, I think it would be going in the 4 to 8 range, and it just depends on how high somebody would want to take him based on his landing spot there. I think he'd be kind of in a JSN situation where you'd have to maybe wait a year for that to pan out. But he's certainly a good prospect, and you don't see guys that are 6'4", 208, running 4.3s, and actually functioning with route running and nuance. He's a pretty special player. So it makes sense for him to go at 18 here. So let's go to 19. I have the Rams, and boy, has the board fallen very nicely for them with their needs. I think they're going to go edge here. I think it's going to be Latu. I think Latu will go here because I feel like McVay would be the kind of coach. It's his first pick in the first round ever, I think. And which is crazy to even believe. I think
Yeah,
that's
he
pretty
didn't draft
wild.
him, so
And I feel like the Rams are the team that would give the least fucks about injury history and just look at the talent and say, this is the best player on the board. Let's just take him.
they should have a pretty
Low
good
moving
idea.
cost, Sean. Very low moving costs. He only has to go down the road.
I was gonna
You
say
got to think about these things.
they should have a pretty good idea of his medicals. Like he's literally right there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is probably the highest that he goes, in my opinion. I don't really see him going in that top 15 because of the medicals. But the team that would take him would be the Rams. So I'm just going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, he's my, like, as far as defensive players, like, he's third on my board.
He's really good. He is really, really good. And I'm sad that he's not going to be making it down to the Bucks in this mock. But
Tim, Quinion, and Murphy, for me, the three.
I have never seen, I don't think I've ever really seen a guy use his hands as well as he does. When you watch him play, technically, he is one of the best defensive linemen I've ever watched. So I hope that he can stay healthy for everybody's sake to be able to watch him. So let's go to 20 here. Pittsburgh on the clock. What direction do you think we're going here?
Big, real big.
Big.
How big? Mims big.
Oh, my Lanta. That is a very Pittsburgh pick.
Put him right next to Washington. Oh yeah.
I think that would be the biggest pairing in the history of football.
Guys would be making business decisions to get out of the way of that.
I got to tell you, and this is a very deep receiver class, so they don't feel pigeonholed to take a receiver here
when
either.
Does Pittsburgh ever take? Like, I don't think they're probably going to wait until the third round to take a receiver.
I think the last time they took a first-round receiver was Limas Sweet.
Didn't work out for him.
I don't think so. I think that was a first-round player. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, good. I like the fit there, and I feel like he's the kind of guy that, Georgia. He works perfectly with Washington, who played Georgia. It's like kind of adds up.
I don't think that either of us are going to have Burton going in the top 2 rounds at receiver. Is that fair?
No.
Is he not the perfect Pittsburgh Steeler?
Yeah, does he have character issues? Yes. Is he a good route runner? Yes. Is he athletic? Yes.
Explosive athlete, probably one of the best athletes.
He's destined to be a Pittsburgh receiver in the 4th round.
He's going to be a Steeler in the 3rd or 4th round, guaranteed.
Is there a line out there for that? I'll take it.
I would take that like in a heartbeat.
That seems like a great bet. I'm going to try to go find that tonight. All right, so let's move along here to Miami at 21. I think this is an absolute layup. I think this is Graham Barton. He is the perfect fit for what they need. He could literally play any of the 5 positions. Of course, they could go D-line. I kind of considered verse here as well because the value is there.
Yeah, in my mock, I had Johnny Newton going here, but the interior on both sides are so bad. They need it.
They really need it. And Barton, I think Barton's a stud, so he's a perfect fit here. We'll go ahead and take him. And now Denver's back on the clock at 22 from the trade. So, Sean, what direction are we going here?
We are going to give Denver Mr. Bo Nix.
Wow, the first round Bo Nix. There he is. So they did get their capital. They moved back. They ended up getting some picks out of that. And they pick up Bo Nix. And, Sean, what do you think about Bo Nix just in general? I mean,
he is a highest comp, like what I think would be the most aspirational is current Tua.
Current Tua. Let me see. I can see it.
Talk about a backpack guy. Like that's.
I can see. I think he, at current state, Bo Nix is Andy Dalton.
I don't think he'll ever be lower than QB like in the league. QB like 35. Seem fair? 40?
Yeah. He's just he's just not special, and that's okay. But
you're taking him in the first round.
But you're taking him in the first round, and you have Jarrett Stidham on your roster, so you almost have no choice at this point.
You have to take quarterback. You might as well take a relatively competent one with not a lot of upside.
And I think if you're Denver and you made this trade back and you got some extra capital out of it, makes it a little bit more palatable.
This is like best case scenario for them out of this draft, I think.
Absolutely, 100%. If you can get some extra capital, still get a quarterback, and even if Bo Nix sucks ass, and they have to go back to the well, it's easy to move on from him because, I mean, yes, you gave up a first to get him, but you got something out of it at least. And Sean Payton has no problem getting rid of anybody at any time, it seems like, at this point. So if they end up, picking high again next year and a better quarterback is available that he likes more, I could totally see them going back to back for quarterbacks, which would be insane to think about, but they could. I just don't love obviously from a fantasy perspective, he'll bump up in super flex drafts because he will be a starter.
Sure.
But I don't love Nick's.
He'd be like, if we're ranking like all 32 quarterbacks in fantasy, he's going to be in like that 30 to 32 range if he's the starter. For me,
yeah,
I don't think that'd be I think that's a crazy statement, but
I don't think so either. Let's go to 23 here. This is the second pick for the Chargers, and the board fell beautifully for them to take J.C. Latham here at 23.
That's a fall.
It is a fall. I don't think this is where he's going to end up going. I feel like he's a mid first rounder, and he'll go somewhere between 10 and 20.
I had Latham going at 11 to the Chargers.
See, even better. So we got two of our guys, and it worked out very well. Let's keep it moving. Dallas here at 24. A lot of different directions you can go here, Sean. Where are you going?
Yeah, I mean, originally Graham Barton was going to be the pick here. I think it just made a lot of sense for them starting center since they lost their starter last year. It's tough. I mean, they got a few needs. Offensive line, you can always use more defensive line depth, but I think the price tags are going to come down hard, and they need to have flexibility at some of those positions just in case. So I'm going to give them Adonai.
Wow. Beautiful fit, though. So you give them somebody that looks like CeeDee Lamb. So you have two CeeDee Lamb. So they might get confused on the field who they're covering. But I like
they might have gone to the same high school. Or I don't remember if I heard that right or not.
I don't know where Adonai went.
They went to the same school at some point. Maybe it was the same camp for football. I'm not sure.
I mean, I have seen this marked here before. The Cowboys have been a little bit boring in recent first rounds, so I could see them making a splash. And frankly, they do need more pass catching help. Gallup got released. Cooks is older. They don't really have anybody behind them at this point. If CeeDee Lamb goes down there, they're screwed. They're totally screwed at receiver.
It's turd Ferguson or bust, baby.
It's all turd all day long, baby. We'll just take all the turd. And Matt Mitchell makes sense, from a fit perspective too. He's got speed and he can stretch the field like, the Cookses of the world. But also, he gives you long-term upside as well.
Yeah, I don't love AD Mitchell.
A lot of people don't, man.
Not my flavor. He's my wide receiver 7 or 8. I can't remember.
It's tough to rank him this year because there's so many good prospects, and he has so many traits.
The traits are so good,
and the flashes are insane.
The flashes are insane. The analytics are awful.
The worst. Couldn't be any worse if you tried.
His yards per route run would be the lowest of a first round wide receiver ever.
It would be like Alec Pierce level. I mean, it's horrible.
He's a second round pick. So
I mean, that's probably where he should go, though. In reality.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just
the traits are there. Somebody's going to do it.
The thing that got me is I heard Schefter on a podcast say that when he said Buffalo for them, Schefter said think lower.
Interesting.
And Schefter, I mean, if you're going to talk about a guy that's dialed in,
there's nobody else I would even consider talking about that kind of thing other than him. So,
and I know I always screw with Alex and I always tell him, but they're going to be paying $130 million per year between 3 players by the end of next year.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to be in trouble, and they're going to need a rookie or a very cheap receiver, other option other than CD at that point. So this is a pretty good fit for that.
If you said
they get the 5th-year option too.
If somebody told you who you think 2 out of the 3 they have to keep and the other guy's not coming back. Now, not you personally, but what you think the Cowboys would do between Dak, CD, and Jesus Christ,
Parsons
and Parsons.
I think Dak goes.
Really?
Now, do I agree with that? No. But do I think Jerry does that? Yes.
I see with how many good receivers come out every year, I think he would pick CD as the sacrificial lamb.
Oh my god, that was brutal. All right, with that, we're moving along to the Green Bay Packers.
Everybody.
Green Bay Packers have 2 really good options available to them here. 3 actually. I will be going with the best value on the board, and I think it's Jared Verse. I think he just fits well as an edge rusher. I know they have Van Ness that they took, not Van Ness. No, it was Van Ness. They took a couple years ago, and they have other options out there. But versus the position value, they have a ton of picks this year. I think they're just going to take value all across the board wherever they can get it.
They're tied for the most. They have 11 picks.
Yeah, they're loaded with picks. I think they definitely could have gone a couple of different directions here, but Verse makes the most sense, so I'll go with that. And it stinks because the Bucs probably would have loved to have Verse at 26, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I think very possible that they could go with like a developmental offensive tackle there for sure because they have the time to let him.
Yeah, they seem like a prime Guyton guy.
Guyton, they could go Jordan Morgan with a little more flexibility because he can play guard.
Yep.
But, in Kingsley, maybe that might be a little early for Kingsley, but
I would not do that.
When you like a guy, you like a guy.
The Packers kind of they value athletes as well, so I mean, I could see them going in that direction. Like Guyton kind of makes sense in that scenario.
Crazy.
Okay. All right, who we got for the Bucs here?
The Bucs, man,
we got options.
Corner is a need.
It's a need. However, we have better value.
Trenches are a need too.
They certainly are, Sean. And there's one guy I really like that's still here, and I hope you make the right pick.
He's still here. And can you scroll down a little bit?
I mean, I absolutely can scroll down. Here you go.
Boy, oh boy. Is that what Chop's first name is? I didn't know that.
It sure is. It's phenomenal. Outstanding name.
Now,
but Chop is even better.
Does your guy play offense or defense?
He plays offense, so there's only a couple of guys on the board here for you.
He's got medicals that I think are going to drop him into the second round.
And I would assume that would be Jackson Powers Johnson.
Is that who you were talking about?
But here's the thing is, I don't care. I love that guy. He's so good.
Let's introduce
that guy's built like a square, dude. He looks like a rectangle. He is. If you could drop a Jason Light offensive lineman, it's Jackson Powers Johnson, dude. He is so Jason Light.
Eric, I'm going to need you to be realistic and understand that the Bucs love traits.
They do. And they love shitty pass rushers.
They're going to take Chop Robinson.
Oh, Jesus. At least it's better than Darius Robinson, but Jesus, you're killing me, Sean.
It's isn't it Demir? Oh, no, it's Darius.
To me, I'm not even going to try. It's not even worth it. There we go. He's in D. Robinson. It could have been Darius Robinson for all I know.
He's coming up.
Oh, God. God help us. That's another one I can't get on board with in the first round with all the talent this year. All right, we got Arizona picking on the clock here. Boy, there's still a lot of good talent for them. They do need interior offensive line. I know you said he's going to go in the second round. I think Jackson Powers Johnson's a lock here.
I don't. Yeah,
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I think I don't think he's getting out of the first. But if it's the medicals are that bad, then yes. But
that's an interesting spot for him to land. You think that's a need, like a high need for them?
Not a high need, but they have a lot of picks, and I think they just need really good talent. And I think
they have no talent on defense, Eric.
They have no talent in a lot of places, Sean. They're very bad.
No, this is pretty good.
I mean, it's solid, but I think like keeping Kyler upright is a priority and healthy is a priority. And I just think he's a great talent. I just think they're going to – I'm all for it. I actually think they might even move around from that pick. I don't even think that they'll stay at 27. They could come up for another player that they like maybe. I could see that pick being moved for sure. But here we got Buffalo at 28.
If JPJ goes ahead of Cooper DeJean in the draft, I will literally fly to Dallas and streak in front of the Jerry Jones hologram.
Now listen, I thought about taking DeJean here for Arizona as well, but to me that's even less of a need.
Corner?
Yeah, I don't think corner's that big of a need for them. They have players out there.
Okay.
All right, hey, move along.
We're going to agree to disagree on that one.
Keep it moving.
Boy, oh boy. So
Buffalo
this is
here.
where I originally had A.D. Mitchell, so that's interesting. So this pushes up the wide receiver class, but they also need other things. including
the Bills are.
offense.
I think the Bills are going to trade this pick
down.
I think they're going to trade it for a guy that's already in the league.
Interesting.
I think they have a couple of options based on recent news.
They don't have. They never have a second cornerback that's good.
And never ever. Literally never ever.
Their safeties are gone.
How is? I mean, DeJean makes a lot of sense.
Let's give him Cooper DeJean. I think the fantasy world is going to cry if it's a defensive player, but it's still a need, and their coach is a defensive head coach. So,
and Buffalo, I believe, has traded up 2 years in a row in the first round.
I've seen a lot of mocks of them trading up. They just don't have a ton of capital. So
they don't, and I think they have too many needs to kind of do that this year. I think, and there will be a good player for them here anyway.
Cooper DeJean's not making it out of the top 25.
He's definitely not going out of the first round. That's a guarantee. He's going in the first round. So it's you have to take somewhere here.
Yeah, he's my corner too, just because of the flexibility. Like he can.
Yeah, I don't think he's elite at either of the flexible positions, but I do think he's really good, and I would feel very good. I would feel great if the Bucks took him. Honestly,
certain situations, like he could be like a definitely a Pro Bowler, but like an All Pro like level kind of guy in the secondary. Like if you throw him into like Indianapolis, like the way they run their cover three.
Like I see a lot of Eric Weddle too, man.
Yeah.
He has some Weddle qualities where he can kind of cover the slot guys. I like him. Mm-hmm. So we'll take him here for Buffalo. And then we have Detroit on the clock at 29. I got to find a Dan Campbell guy, and I think I know who it is, and I think it's Zach Frazier, so I'm taking Zach Frazier. He was an all-pro wrestler. He is a dog. He will bite the kneecaps. It might be a little early for him, but also the Lions do not give a shit about positional value. No. So we're going to go Zach Frazier here. And that's going to bring Baltimore on the clock at 30.
Interesting. Have you heard like the rumors about Darius Robinson being like promised?
I have heard similar things. I probably should. I mean, of course, when we had Charlie on the podcast, we only had him for so long and for the offensive guys, but I would like to know where he thinks he's going to go because I've seen anywhere from like low 20s to late second round. He could go kind of anywhere. I don't love him. I think he has like a lot of good power traits, but I can see him busting too. But boy, does he seem like a Raven.
Really?
He just fits. He just like looks like he's gonna fit.
Yeah.
And they need an edge rusher, but there's a lot of good options for him here. You got corner. I mean, all of their needs kind of align with what's available. So.
Sorry, this is me trying to figure out what the hell I did here. Okay. All right. 30. I'm going to give Baltimore needs offensive linemen. They lost 3.
They need offensive linemen. They need corner. And they need edge. They could use another receiver. They have options.
Sneaky, like very needy team.
Yeah, they kind of lost a lot of stuff in the last couple of years in free agency, specifically defensively.
So I'm going to give him a guy that I don't think is going to make it out of the first round. Just because the upside for him is really good. I'm going to give him Guyton.
I like that pick a lot. I think that's a pretty good pick for the Ravens. I think Ravens generally like guys that are a little bit more bulky, but he is very athletic, and they do love athletes as well. So Guyton makes a lot of sense. We got San Fran here at the end of the first. Like I kind of alluded to it earlier. I feel like Buffalo might trade that pick for like Ayuk or something. I feel like there's an outside chance of that. They need an offensive lineman. They've kind of dwindled here. I think Morgan is the last like real option for them. Morgan could also kick in a guard, and they kind of also need a guard as well. So I think I'll just take Morgan here for them, even though I think they could go receiver if they do indeed trade.
Exactly who I had in my mind.
Look at that. Pick 31. You got him. Nailed it. KC here at 32, Sean. Where are we going?
Another tackle needy team
that just got screwed.
That loves to develop tackles. Kingsley, here we come.
I got to tell you, I don't love it. But you know who doesn't care about the draft at all either, though, is the Chiefs. They'll do whatever. They don't give a shit.
This could very much be a traded out pick, for sure.
They could move down, yeah.
But I think the trade is coming next.
Interesting. All right, well, I actually think so I had a team that you are picking for that I think was primed to trade up for a lineman, offensive lineman, that will now no longer do that based on position scarcity. I thought Washington is a prime team to move up for another lineman. They have a couple of second round picks available. I could have saw them moving back into the first.
I was going back and forth between, because I had a trade for 30 for Guyton.
Okay.
For Washington.
Yeah, and I think that would have been, kind of perfect for some of the linemen that are left. Because if you look now, linemen are definitely scarce, especially in the offensive tackle category. I think you and I both really like a guard that's still available, and we'll probably go in the second round. So we'll get there in a second. But who are we going here for Carolina if they're sticking and picking?
Do you want me to stick and pick? Because I have a trade.
If you got a trade, let's hear the trade.
Yeah, it's Las Vegas moving up to 33, and they're trading for 33 and 142, and they're giving up 44 and 77. But I'll let you get to it first.
I like that, and I assume this is for Penix.
This is for Penix.
Okay, so we're giving up what? We're giving 33, and they're getting 44
and 142 from the Panthers.
142 from the Raiders.
From the Panthers.
Oh.
For the Raiders' top 2 picks there. Yeah.
There we go. Oh, look, a perfect trade, Sean. They love it. They absolutely love it. We're gonna lock it in, and so now they get Talise Fuaga and Michael Penix, which is much better than Michael or Penix and some random shithead.
Yeah, this is essentially recreating the Levis trade from last year.
This would be wonderful for.
You give front offices the night to think about what they want to do. Go into day 2, like a lot. You end up hearing a lot of phone calls and stuff, or hear about a lot of trade offers for that pick. So I think that's honestly, it's got a pretty good shot of happening, assuming they don't do the stupid thing and take Penix at 13.
I don't think they're going to do that. I feel like Tom Telesco would not do that. But he hasn't proven to be a great GM recently either. Those who knows. But all right, so it's your pick again here.
I stole your pick, so why don't you take New England at 34?
Well, let's keep the odds and evens. It'll be easier to track. Why don't you just go ahead for New England here?
Okay, I'm going to give them Xavier Worthy.
Oh, jeez.
Because I keep hearing a lot of smoke that he's going in the first round, and I don't believe it. But that makes me think he's going higher than I would take him. And they just need speed so badly.
They need a lot offensively. I mean, from a dynasty perspective, this would be a rough landing spot. This would be not fun. I feel like this would pretty much knock him out of the first round consideration in our draft. But you never know. But I feel like this would be a tough landing spot for him for dynasty. I don't think he's as bad as maybe.
He's a good receiver. Like, he runs good.
He's pretty solid. He catches the ball.
He's just so small.
He's very small, and these kind of guys just don't usually work out. Like, the history is not great. So I understand it, but
the last few years, but
it has. The game has changed a little bit to help these smaller receivers out, but yeah, I could see this happening, and they just need. If you're going to draft May, you got to give him some help. You have to.
Yeah, I've seen mocks where like Coleman goes here, and I'm like, if you guys send another guy that doesn't separate to the Patriots, like, I think New England's going to die.
It would be, yeah, it would be pretty wild.
The whole region is just going to die.
So we're here at pick 35 for Arizona. Cornerback, the value is clearly here, and Sean believes they need a quarterback very badly as well. So I think we're going to go ahead and take Kool-Aid McKinstry here because I think he is a little bit safer than Nate Wiggins. So I'm going to go with McKinstry.
You mean the guy that hurt himself running a 40?
Yeah, pretty much. I like Wiggins, and we've seen skinny guys like that work before, but we've also seen Emmanuel Forbes do that and suck. So I don't know. Yeah, exactly. So I would not take him in the first round. I do not think Wiggins should go in the first round, but he should be a second round pick at some point. So
you're saying I shouldn't give Nate Wiggins to the Commanders?
I think they may have learned their lesson, perhaps. You never know, though. There's a new regime, so who knows? All right, who we going here for Washington?
Boy, they need a lot.
They really do. You can go almost anywhere here.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy. Let's. You scroll down just a little bit.
I sure can. Do you have a position that you want to look at, perhaps?
I mean, they really should have traded up for an offensive lineman.
I think that probably will end up be what happens and I could see it happening with Tampa. Honestly, Tampa seems like a potential trade down spot.
Yeah, and like if this is the way it goes, it could end up being a reach if they take an offensive lineman.
This is, I mean, yeah, it's not looking great here, Sean, for offensive line. I mean, we have a guy we like. I don't think the NFL is going to see it the same way.
A couple guys that I still like. I just think it'd be a little early. I think there's still 2 tackles that are going to go in the second round. I just don't think they're going to be this high up in the second round.
I think there's a guy that's really low, or 2 guys that are really low on this list that will go higher for the tackles because of position need. But
yeah,
anywho, what are you thinking?
Boy, oh boy. This board felt terribly for them.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
I just can't, in good conscience, take a safety or a linebacker in the top 50. The positions are so iffy. Why don't we give them?
Is Adam Peters Rakestraw?
Yeah.
All right,
Rakestraw. Just can't see them going with another frail corner, but they need another corner.
Well, Rakestraw is a very gritty corner, so he fits the new look that they're trying to go for with Dan Quinn. So I think that's actually a pretty good fit. We're back on the clock here with the Chargers. Their draft has gone swimmingly so far. There's a guy that's kind of sticking out to me here. Do I think the Chargers will do it? Maybe, maybe not. But I'm going to go Ladd McConkey. I feel like Ladd would be an interesting selection here. Could play in the slot, could play outside. They clearly need a receiver. So now you're adding another really quality offensive player to this team. And it's starting to look really good with Bowers, Latham, and McConkey in the top of this draft for them. So I like that. And McConkey to the Chargers would be very nice for his fantasy value, I would imagine. You'd think he'd probably move up maybe a little bit on rookie draft boards, perhaps being one of the top options there. So it's a pretty good landing spot overall for McConkey.
No complaints here. He's my wide receiver 5. So
he's so fun. He's such a good route runner.
Great. He's more than slot. I think he will be good on the end too. So
he would be a guy like I would bet in 5 years if he would still be relevant in 5 years. I would bet a lot on that. So, all right. So here we go. We got Tennessee. They took Joe Alt in the first round. Sean, where are they going with the second pick?
I'm going to give them. I think this is where the first linebacker could go. I'm going to give them Junior Colson.
Ooh, Squidward. I do like Junior Colson, though.
I think he's the best. I think he's the best linebacker in the draft.
I like a few of these guys. I have a guy later that I like at linebacker. It'd be way too high for here, but I like Colson a lot. I think he has a ton of upside, and he gives the Titans a little bit more beef, which seems to be, and he's very fast too. So he will be a good fit for their team speed as well that they're trying to go for. We got the Panthers who just traded down again. The Panthers kind of needed the trade down, so I really feel like that trade worked out for them. They get more capital for a team that has a ton of needs. They're in a good spot to take a lot of guys in this spot.
Yeah, it would have been a great place to take Ladd McConkey. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it certainly would. I think they are going to go receiver. And they almost have to. And I think my pick here is Ricky Pearsall. I think he's literally just a younger Adam Thielen, and you can just chuck him right in there, and he'll be a nice fit.
You found my wide receiver 6.
There he is. I think Ricky Pearsall. I might not be as high on him as maybe some of the other boards, but I think he is going to be just a solid pro. And they just need guys that can separate and have good hands, and he can do both of those things. And he can learn from a perfect guy in Adam Thielen that kind of just take over his role whenever he exits. So I like that pick for them.
Yeah, I think he's more of an outside guy than I think. Well, I guess Thielen earlier in his year.
Yeah, I'm thinking like early Thielen when he was like making contested catches, making crazy plays. Like he kind of has some of that in him, I think. He kind of looks like him too, so that helps the cause. But we got Washington back on the clock here. Like we said, lots of needs. Positional value doesn't really line up again. What are you thinking here?
Do they have another second rounder? No, they don't.
They don't. So everything you see here on the screen, Sean, is what they have in the second round.
Okay, I'm gonna give them Patrick Paul because I think
they got to get something there.
They have to get something.
Yeah, I think there's better value, but they have to get better there. We got Green Bay back on the clock. Green Bay's got a zillion picks.
These freaking guys.
Yeah, I think I feel like they're the hardest team to draft for.
I think they're going to take the value here. I think Wiggins is going to go because it's probably a little too late at this point.
I do agree that they're. We said this earlier when they took Verse. I think they're just going to be a big value team this year. They don't have a lot of needs, and they could just get better depth-wise. So I don't think it matters really too much where they go. It's clear that the offensive line is thinned out here. I could see them maybe going IOL, but it doesn't match the value. We're going to go Wiggins. That brings us to Houston's first selection this year. They have a few needs as well. Sean, where are we going?
I don't think they need a receiver at this point.
So. I don't think so either. That's like everybody's like, oh my gosh, do they really? Like they have 3 good ones. And then 4 or 5 maybe even.
Interior defensive line is a need for them.
It is.
I'm going to go with Michael Hall Jr.
All right, so here's the deal, Sean. He's one of my favorite players in this draft. I love him. I absolutely love him. I was actually texting Charlie Campbell today about Michael Hall. Charlie has him as 28 on his big board right now.
I love him.
So he has as a first round. Now, Charlie also mentioned that there were some serious character concerns here, so he could see him sliding because of that. But talent-wise, I believe he's a first-round pick. He smoked the Senior Bowl. He looked incredible at the Senior Bowl, and he just looks like he's gonna be a great player. So I just feel like he is a perfect fit here in Houston, where now this line is looking really scary. Will Anderson, Michael Hall, Grenard is pretty damn. I think did they lose Grenard in free agency?
Well, they got Danielle Hunter.
Oh, so they just swapped those two. Never mind. So yes, this is looking pretty insane for them. So I like it. Let's go to Atlanta at 43. Boy, we have some options here. They did
just double up on pass rush.
I mean, I thought about that because there is some value there. I actually think I'm going to go a little bit in a different direction. I'm going to go with a guy that I really like in a similar position. It's Braden Fisk. I think he is a great interior 3 tech option for them. Grady is not
for me to figure out where he's going to go.
I don't think he's going in the first, and I don't think he's going in the late second. So he's going to go, to me, he's going between 30 and like 50. And I really think he's a great fit if you're going to stack him to both the Florida State guys too. So you have Verse and Fisk now on the Falcons. So that's a pretty cool setup for them. And I just think he reminds me a lot of like Derek Wolfe. He maybe is not as big as Derek Wolfe, but he has that like tweener kind of build where he's not going to be a 3 tech or a 5, but he's somewhere in between there and he can play a couple different positions. I think it'll be a really good fit. And he's got that dog in him. So I love it. We got Carolina back on the clock here for you, Sean.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pass rush for them.
Boy, do they need it.
They got to replace they're not going to replace what they had in Brian Burns at all. But
they just, what a horribly mismanaged situation that was.
Just in case I'm not missing anything, can you just go to the edge and...
Sure.
Okay, I'm not.
Not really, no.
I am stuck between 2 guys in here. I'm going to go because I think there's an outside chance that this guy actually might sneak into the end of the first round. I'm going to go with Nealand.
Wow. You're much higher on Nealand than I am.
I'm going on what I think might happen.
Damn.
I think he probably has the biggest upside of anybody that's on the board there.
He does have a lot of upside, and he did look pretty good at the Senior Bowl. I just think he's got a long way to go.
I was between him and Adisa Isaac for that pick.
Damn. I have another guy or 2 guys I would take over both of those guys. So we're a little bit different on the edge rush. I think we might have to talk about him here in a little bit.
I wanted to take like a traits guy, and like Adisa like will produce as soon as he's on the field. Like he's a guy that just
he's got it. I don't know how else to say it. He's got it. But I think Nealand is a good pick, maybe a little bit later for me, but he's a good prospect for them and they need some juice on the edge. So that makes a lot of sense. We got New Orleans back on the clock. They have a few interesting choices that they could go with. There's some doesn't really align with their needs. Is that great? To be honest with you, I think I'm going to give them a receiver, and I think it's going to be Troy Franklin. I think Franklin has a similar build to Olave, and they were okay with that in the first round. I think there's a couple other options they could go with here at receiver. I think there's a lot of really good talent still left, but I think Franklin is going to end up being in that middle of the second round, so I'm going to put him here.
Yeah, this is where I had Coleman going. So that's interesting that you went.
Coleman fits too. I mean, frankly, they could kind of pick any of these receivers, and you can't really scoff at it. I think the only one that you would have to like, you have to look at the positions that they do have. Like, I don't think Rashid Shaheed is going to come off the field on those, field stretching type things, and Franklin can work the middle pretty well. I feel like Frank.
Yeah,
so go ahead.
That's true. I was gonna say I agree. I think Franklin's gonna be mostly an outside receiver in the NFL.
I do, and I think he's mostly outside, but I like the fact that he can play in the middle of the field. Like, as far as just like his routes tree, he seemed to do well on those deep in routes where they can have Shaheed run deep and they can have Olave play that middle to post game as well. I think it just fits their offense well, so I'm going to go there.
It's a great landing spot for him just because he doesn't have to be like one of the top 2 receivers in year 1. Gives him a year to like actually strengthen up, get bigger.
And he needs it. Yeah.
He's really, really terrible against press. Like he
very bad.
Just dies in press coverage. So that makes a lot of sense.
And not a lot of teams press him, so he's going to need time. Mm-hmm. Seems like a Saints pick to me, though. All right, who we got? We got Atlanta next. They have both Florida State pass rushers. Where are we going now?
Do they really?
I know, it's pretty interesting. I thought. Never mind. I apologize. I thought they had a Burn or a Verse. I gave him Turner instead.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Did we? Verse went. Yeah, Verse went.
Yeah, I'd pick Verse for 25 for the Packers.
So this was a team that I had taking a second round receiver. Interestingly enough, I don't know if that's like a common thing, but
I've seen it a few times. I mean, the position value makes sense.
I think with them, I'm gonna give them Coleman because he fits the prototypical Atlanta receiver kind of mold, like
big guy on the outside and can go up and get it.
Well, Coleman's not going to be an outside receiver in the NFL. If he is, he's going to fail.
I think there's a chance he could end up in that role. It might be bad coaching.
My comp for him is Tyler Boyd with more 50-50 possibility. So,
yeah, I mean, I think Florida State just used him so poorly. Like they just didn't. They were using him on like bubble screens and shit, and it's like, this guy is not a bubble screen player.
I mean, he did that. He returned punts.
I mean, yeah, they used him like he was a super athlete, and he did not test like a super athlete. It was very weird.
I think I have him as 8 on my wide receiver board. I remember it's like him and AD Mitchell were like right next to each other.
I mean, yeah, he's. I can't remember a bigger question mark in recent years.
It's very like super. I think I was listening to Matt Harmon. Whoever does
Harmon reception perception.
Like he comped him to like any big slot receiver that's coming to the NFL. Like if he's not that, like he's going to be terrible because his success rate against man and press coverage is like sub 25% on the outside.
Do you see any N'Keal Harry here, Sean?
It's possible. I think he's much. I don't say much better, like as like a prospect because he was a first round pick.
Yeah.
Like I think he's got a better chance of succeeding if he's in that role than Harry had, for sure.
Yeah, I agree too. I mean, I still think he's very young as well, so he's got some upside there too, or he could still develop. We got the Giants here at second round, 47. They took Malik Neighbors in the first round. I think they have a couple different options. I mean, they're pretty good on the edge now. Interior line, I actually like Chris Jenkins a ton, and I think that would make a lot of sense for them.
Any thought at running back here?
I
just for the fans at home, it's a fantasy.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is so I guess we can start thinking about him now because I feel like this is kind of the range where it becomes a possibility, maybe even earlier in the second, perhaps. But they do need a running back, and I think if they were to take a running back, I feel like it would be Trey Benson. I feel like he's kind of just like that fit for that offense. They seem to like the athlete guys in at that position. Um, Singletary is there, so I don't think they're pigeonholed into that, and I don't think the position of value is quite there for that right now. So I'm going to take Chris Jenkins just to shore up the middle of the defensive line, and it's probably a boring pick, but I think they kind of need it.
I like it.
We got Jacksonville after taking Terrion Arnold in the first round. They're back on the clock, and they have quite a few receiver options here.
They do.
They also need edge. They need tackle.
If I'm going with the receiver mold that they need, and I'll take receiver here, I think they need like a prototypical X. And the best X on that board for me is Polk.
Yeah, I could see that.
So I'm going to take Jalen Polk here at 48.
Seems like Polk's been a little bit of a riser as of late. I've seen his name pop up in mocks more often.
I like him here. I like all three of them.
Dude, this is a good receiver class. There's so many. Like, I got down into my wide receiver 12. And I'm like, oh, I kind of like this guy. It's like last year, wide receiver 12, I wouldn't even consider drafting. It's crazy how different this year is.
Yeah,
but yeah, Polk is.
They need to replace the. I guess the Zay Jones spot. I mean,
the Zay Jones or Ridley, really. I mean, either one of them. I mean, of course, like Kirk is the super slot, and then you'll have Gabe Davis running straight goes every route, and then Jalen Polk seems like a perfect fit on the outside on the other side. So I like that pick. And then we have Brian Thomas going in the first round here to the Bengals. They really do need an offensive lineman, and I think there's a guy that's going to go way higher than this is ranked. I think Roger Rosengartner is going to go in the second round. Yeah. So I'm going to give them. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous.
I was forgetting about somebody. He was so low.
Yeah, I think he's going to go way higher. They really do need the tackle too, so I'm going to go with him.
Realistic. I forgot about him. Realistic chance he goes before Patrick Paul for sure.
Yeah, I was even hearing that he might go like late 1, which would be crazy. So yeah, but I think he's a quality prospect. He reminds me of Rob Havenstein a couple of years ago for the Rams. He's not as big, but he has a similar play style. So we got the Broncos getting Bo Nix at 22 for better or for worse, and then they picked up the extra pick here in the second with pick 50.
This one really feels like it should be defense again.
I agree.
Boy, probably either interior. They could take. They're a legitimate team to take the first safety off the board.
This is kind of the range for safeties now.
Quarterback and safety as your first two picks would be intense.
It would be it would be something, Sean. That's for sure.
And they're so poorly run. You know what? Bring up the safeties, Eric. Let's do it.
All right. I mean, Nubin is the clear option for me.
Yeah, me too. Let's give him Nubin.
All right, Nubin it is. There he goes. All right, we got Pittsburgh back on the clock, and boy, are we right in that receiver range that they like receivers. But we also talk about we could wait and take Jermaine Burton. You never know. I think I have a guy too. I want to see if it's the same guy. I'm picking Malachi Corley.
Oh, no.
I think that's the guy.
Fuck no.
I think that's the guy.
But
I think he's going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. I just believe it. I look at him playing. I'm like, that's a Steeler. I don't know why.
Yeah, I will give you this. I would have gone with Roman Wilson, but he's just too straight-laced of a guy to be a Pittsburgh Steeler.
You're kind of and I feel similarly about Xavier Legette too. Like he's kind of just like a down-home guy. Like I don't know, but Corley, I just think with Pickens doing what he does on the outside, Calvin Austin will play slot still, but I like Corley because I think he can do a little bit more than what people are saying he can do. I don't love him as a prospect, but I think they need a little bit more speed in this offense outside of Warren, and it's a little bit more explosiveness, and I think he could do that.
He just, to me, is a guy that I feel like you have to really design a lot around to get him into the game.
Seems like a player that the Jaguars would have taken.
Yeah, he's like a Jamal Agnew, but bigger.
I mean, he reminds me of Laviska Shenault at times.
Or Shenault, sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah. My bad. I didn't.
What'd you say?
Agnew.
I mean, he's kind of similar. I mean, like, yeah, he's like type of player. Yeah.
In that mold. Yeah, I would. Yeah.
I
So,
just
not my
like when I
favorite.
look at the board. I mean, the only other guy I could see them taking outside of Burton, of course, would be Walker. Just because that that size speed that they tend to like a Martavis Bryant type, also can't catch, so it'd be
I
perfect
mean,
for
they
him.
could use like if we're really talking about a receiver that would be perfect for them, I think McConkey would be like
Oh,
ideal.
dude, that would be like from a scheme fit overall. Like,
Yeah.
you got your Pickens running deep goes every route, and then you got McConkey
Mhm.
underneath, and then Calvin Austin as well. I think that would be sweet.
But I mean, I don't think the board's not gonna fall for them unless they're taking him at 20. But
I think they could trade down too. Like they
wild.
might be a trade down candidate. So
Yeah. So
anywho, I think they'll definitely take at least one receiver in the first 2 rounds. So let's go to the Rams here at 52. They took Latu in the first round, which I love for them. What are they doing next, Sean? They have picks this year. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a defense-heavy draft for them. I think they do need some help in the secondary.
They really do. I
I
had them as a team that could have taken a first-round corner.
Yeah, if you want to open up corner, it's not. I don't love it, but I
love 2 guys on this list.
I like Sandstrom.
I love Sandstrom.
I like TJ Tampa a little bit too.
I like one other guy on this list a lot more.
You're more of a Melton guy.
I'm a Melton guy.
Let's take.
And I actually like Jackson a lot too. I hate Cam Hart. Cam Hart shouldn't even be. He's a 6th-round prospect to me.
Yeah,
that's bad.
We'll go with Sandstrom. Sandstrom? I don't know.
Stain Ristril, I think, is what I've heard. So I don't know. I like the pick for him though. I think they just need any help in the secondary, and that makes a lot of sense. So, I get an Eagles pick. This is exciting.
Oh man, this was originally because we screwed up the trade. It was going to be 50, and I knew who I was going to take.
All right, Sean. Here's what we're going to do. You can take Philly's pick, and I'm going to take Cleveland's pick, and then we're going to go back to normal.
All right.
Well, I'll let you take your guy.
I'm going to take the interior guy that we like.
Ooh. I'm ready for it, Sean, because we're way higher on this guy than most.
Yeah. give me Christian Haynes.
Dude, I'll take Christian Haynes in the first round. I don't give a shit. I love him.
I did same.
He's so good. I don't know how. I think it's just because he's not super athletic, but
he's he's a guard.
So there was a guy that came out. If I can't remember his name, it's gonna hurt me. He was an LSU guard a few years ago. Vince knows who this is because we both loved him. I think this is way back now. But we call him a phone booth player because he literally can't move. But I don't care. He's just so good in that spot. He got drafted by the Panthers, I think, but I just can't remember his name. I'll look it up later. Anywho, I love the pick. It's a perfect fit, and he's so good. Anywho, Cleveland on the clock. I don't know what the hell to do for you. Dude, Cleveland stinks. Dude, they've given away picks for Jerry Jeudy and shit. I don't know what they're doing.
They're a pretty well-rounded team. It's just a matter of
they do have a good team. It's just like I don't like their personnel decisions. So
they've got 40% of their offensive line coming off major knee injuries.
I do know that just the options are terrible right now. I think they're gonna go for more position value, and I think the value right now is actually at linebacker. I think Peyton Wilson or Edgerrin Cooper would be the option for me. They seem like a team that would like a little bit more beef on the defensive side of the ball, so I'm going to go Peyton Wilson.
Any thoughts on receiver there?
I thought about it, and then I thought I don't think they'll do it that high.
So Mari Cooper.
I don't think they're going to use a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
But if the board falls the right way, where they could get one of those, Ricky Pearsalls or a better receiver, then maybe yeah. But at its current state, it's pretty much Roman Wilson or Leggett, and that's kind of the only way I'd go. You got Miami here at 55. Oh yes, okay. I'll take the odds here. I mean, this is a sneaky receiver spot. Board wise, tackle is not an option really anymore. Position value wise, I guess they could take one of these guys, but I would not personally. I'm going to look in the edge group here. I do think there's some edges that make sense for them. I could just go with the guy that I like the most on this list, or I could go with the right pick. Fuck it. I'm gonna go with the guy I like the most because I gotta plant my flag. I'm going Brandon Dorlus. I love him. So I don't know if you remember a guy named Bjorn Werner from years past.
Mm-hmm.
I hope he's what I wanted Bjorn Werner to be. That's what I'm hoping.
For the Colts, right?
He did absolutely nothing in the NFL, but that's okay. That's okay. We're hoping he's the better version of that. So I'm gonna go Brandon Dorlus. He could have gone a couple different ways there, but he's the guy I like a lot in this second, third round. So I think he's gonna go higher than most people think. You got the Cowboys back on the clock. They took Adonai Mitchell in the first round, and I think
this really feels like where like the first running back should go, but
it does. It does.
If they're not taking an offensive lineman in these first 2 picks, I would be shocked.
I mean, it would be surprising given the holes that they have. So yeah. So where would you go?
I'm gonna give him. I think I'm gonna give him BB.
Yes, he's definitely a little bit undersized, but he fits what they need.
Just him
and he's gonna go in the higher part of the draft. And I
undersized left tackles and oversized left guards.
Yeah, I mean, it would be shocking if they did not go in that direction. I'll say that. So, okay, let's look at the board here for the Bucks. They took Chop Robinson the first, which I hate. Thank you, Sean, for that.
It's like pretty legitimate chance of happening, right?
Oh, it's a very. I mean, they do. He's Joey Trianka, like again. It's like basically the same thing. It's very possible. So let's look at the options here. We literally could kind of go anywhere at this point in the draft. We could go receiver, could go interior line, could go tackle, could go. I don't see them going running back. I think that's a stupid need.
They re-signed Chase Edmonds for what that's worth. I mean, I don't think he's very good.
I think they'd be more with the way the running backs fall this year. I think they're more in like a 4th round, 5th round running back kind of area this year as opposed. But they did bring in Jonathan Brooks for a top 30 visit, so that's interesting. And the Bucks are historically always taking guys that they bring in for top 30s, so that's something to think about.
That would be oh my god.
I think the way the board has fallen, and given some of the traits that they tend to like, I'm going to take Jatavion Sanders here and give him something to work with at the tight, a little bit more athleticism than Cade Otton. I would not really love the pick if I was a Bucks. I think I would rather not take a tight end this high, but I would understand if they did. And he certainly has I think he's the clear second best tight end in this class. So.
Mm-hmm. All right. Can you go to safeties?
Let's go to safety. There's a few options. I have a couple of guys on this list that I love.
I'm going to give him Bishop.
Yeah. Cole Bishop.
He would be my top safety on the board.
Now, I got to be honest with you. I'm not sure I've watched too much of him. Is he a good athlete?
Yes.
Okay, then that's perfect for them. That's all I need to hear.
He's a good center fielder as a safety.
I got a guy, Sean, that shouldn't really be relevant in this draft, but I want you to watch him if you haven't already. So his name is James Williams. Watch this guy.
I have not watched him.
Watch James Williams. Come back to me and let me know what you think. This guy is a savage. If he played football 10 years ago, this guy would go in the first round. Like he is the lumber layer.
He began that Here Comes the Boom mixtape on YouTube.
He is Vontaze Burfict in safety form. In my opinion. Like he has that kind of hit power. It's crazy. Like he's a guy you want in Madden just so you could smoke guys coming over the middle. Like basically, I don't think he's gonna probably go in like day 3 of the draft, but I love him. Anywho,
hits harder than Bullard.
They both hit really hard. It's hard to say. I mean, I do love Bullard too. All right, let's go back to the draft here. We got Houston on the clock. Took Michael Hall. We both love Michael Hall. On the same page there at least. And boy, they could kind of go in a lot of directions here too. I think this is kind of Kamari Lassiter's zone. I think he fell because of the poor athleticism testing, but at some point I do think he comes off the board because he is talented, and he seems like a good fit here. So let's do it. We got Buffalo on the clock. They did not take a receiver in round 1. Is that what you're thinking here?
Yeah. The problem is that they need an outside receiver, and
there's only one. 2?
Yeah.
Maybe 3. That's left at least.
It's like not even close to like who my favorite receiver is on this board, but it just doesn't fit.
Yeah,
Boy,
it's
oh
a
boy.
weird board for them. They did get great value in the first, so you can't hate that too much.
Yeah, let's go with.
I don't think you could take Roman, obviously, because he's Khalil Shakir.
So
you don't need 2 Khalil Shakirs on your team.
Yeah, and my top 2 guys on this board are probably him and I don't know, maybe.
It's tough out here. I think we're getting close to the wide receiver drop off.
Yeah, go to edge.
All right. There's definitely value here.
Yeah. Shoot. Yeah, this might be where Darius Robinson ends up going. I can't see him falling this far.
Yeah, there's talk of him going in the first. I just don't like him, so I didn't take him.
Yeah,
I think he's going to go at some point in the second.
Give him the value picks.
It's a quality value pick. All right, so we are back on the clock with the Lions. They picked Zach Frazier in the first round, total dog. So let's see who here is a Lions kind of guy.
You go edge, you go corner, wide receiver.
Yeah, I want to see what's still. I just don't love the position value here. And none of these guys really scream Lions to me. But boy, do they need a corner. Maybe let's put Tampa here.
I was gonna say Tampa feels like a.
He's got a little bit of dog in him. Let's give him Tampa, and this is good positional value for them too. So I like that pick. And then we're on Baltimore at 62.
Oh boy, 62. This is where I had. I just don't know if he might fall further than this. This is where I originally had T'Vondre Sweat going. I don't know.
I heard he had like a DUI recently, so
yeah, I think he's gonna fall.
But dude,
man,
no, they just signed Michael Pierce back. I think I was gonna say, dude, this is such a T'Vondre Sweat spot.
Yeah,
like he's the ultimate Raven.
Yeah,
like who was that? Mount Cody, remember Terrence Cody back in the day?
Yeah.
Oh my God! And then Michael Pierce. They have a guy. I don't know if you know much about Michael Pierce, but 6 foot 350, like an absolute meatball. This guy is sick. Like he doesn't really do much. He's a true clogger for the Ravens, but dude, he's like you watch him out there. He's just like a little meatball, and they love nose tackles out there. So I don't know.
Could give linebacker just doesn't make any sense for them. They've got.
Well, they lost.
He'd be a nice Queen. He would be a nice fit with Roquan though.
They lost Patrick Queen. It would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, they just have so many more like not critical needs, but like pretty high needs outside of it.
They do. I could also see Bullard going here. I could see that.
Yeah, it's very possible.
They have a good safety tandem, but I think they lost one of them.
Yeah, let's go with. Let's give him Bullard. Why not?
Yeah, I think for me it would have been between Bullard and Chris Braswell. I think edge would also make sense for them.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't give him Bullard. Who did I just give him? I misclicked. I don't know who I gave him.
We know in our hearts.
I want to know who I picked though.
Can you go to the team section up there?
I gave him the wrong Bullock. Oops. I gave him Bullock, not Bullard. Either way, we know. All right, so we are on the San Francisco 49ers. In the second round, they took Jordan Morgan in the first round.
Could use a receiver.
I do think receiver makes sense. And
because how confident are you that they are going to be trading Ayuk?
I mean, I said it earlier. I think it's a possibility for sure. I think they're going to float that idea. And
he unfollowed them on social media. Ooh.
Yeah, and I saw he followed all the Jags receivers, which I thought was kind of funny.
Shit, that would be good.
That would be an interesting landing spot. So I'm looking at this. I don't love a lot of these fits for them because I feel like Leggett does a lot of similar things as Debo, and I feel like Roman is kind of a slot-only guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with somebody that's not a receiver because I just don't think any of the fits are right.
corner needy team too.
Very much so. I'm gonna just. Oh, God, I can't do that. It's too early. Jesus. Look, we got some corners out there. Yeah, let's take Melton. I like Melton. Let's do that.
I like it.
I'm on board. This is the last pick of the second round, and this will round out our mock draft. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, who took an offensive tackle in round 1. The board falls nicely for them at receiver here, right?
Yeah, I'm not letting my guy fall out of the top 2 rounds. I don't even know if it's a fit or not, but I'm giving them Roman Wilson.
Yeah, I mean Wilson. I mean he. I do think he's a slot only kind of guy, but I don't think they care too much there about.
Yeah, probably not great with Hollywood there, who's probably running out of the slot too, but I don't care.
They'll find a way to make it work.
He's a good player. I love Keon Coleman to them, but
that would be a nice fit. That would be a nice fit. If they wanted to take Marquez Valdes-Scantling again, they could just take Devontae Walker. That's always an option. But good old Tez. It's a cool name though, so you got to bump him up for that. All right, so that is it for our 2-round, 2-hour mock draft. That was a true extravaganza. I mean, I think I could have gotten to the 4th round, and that's kind of where I drop off. It's starting to get pretty thin here though in the 3rd though, so I think this is a good place to drop off. Hope you guys enjoyed and got a little bit out of that maybe for the second round if you weren't so familiar with some of the second round guys perhaps at different positions other than the fantasy relevant ones. So I thought that was pretty fun. We're going to try to do a podcast again next week before the draft. Probably do a rookie mock draft, I would imagine, like we did last year. I might even bring in one of y'all to make some picks just to keep the fun going and maybe see what other folks think about what the first round of our draft might look like. So we'll have a little bit more rookie talk. We'll do rookie mock. And then I'm going to try to set up. I haven't seen anything really released yet for it. But I want to do something similar like what we did last year with the predict the pick kind of thing, mock draft challenge, if you will, the one that Scavelli won, because I always think that's pretty fun and a good thing to talk about while we're watching the draft. So I'll try to get that set up, and I think that should be pretty good. Sean, anything else before we head out of here?
No, man, it was a fun time. Love doing mock drafts. It's mock drafts.
Yeah, everybody loves a good mock, and we're so close, Sean. We're only like a week away now. This is so cool.
A week from tomorrow.
Dude, it's the best time of year. Masters time, NHL playoff time, NBA playoff time, draft time. Everybody loves it. This is the best time of year. So with that, we'll log off and have a good one.